It would be great to have someone who could do our work for us, right? Someone to prevent us from making mistakes. Someone to assist with our routine professionally and allow us to devote our time to communicating with our closest people. If only we could get results without wasting our time for nothing. Unfortunately, it's impossible in real life. But wait, Liteforex social trading. Spend your time doing what really matters to you.
Good afternoon guys, how are you doing? Hopefully everyone is okay. 7th of November 2019, it's getting closer to 1 p.m. CET, meaning we are very close to the Bank of England rate decision. That's what we are going to cover today. We are going to cover Bank of England rate decision live. So next 45 minutes, maybe up to 1 hour, we are going to try to find the opportunity to eventually grab few pips out of the market. Anyway, let's start with the risk warning, guys. Please bear in mind, trading FX on margin carries a high level of risk, may not be suitable for all investors. You can stay on some or initial investments, so please do not invest the money you cannot afford to lose. Seek education, gain experience before risking real money. However, past performance doesn't guarantee future results. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm still sick a bit. Anyway, we've got like 12 minutes, as you can see here. Before we will jump into the cable, I'm long a little bit of the euro tiny exposure. I'm ready mostly because of what happened during the Tokyo session, right? So finally we hit stops below the yellow box. Then strong recovery. Of course, it's based on the information, but this time from the China side. Hi MHB, how you doing? This time from the China side. Anyway, based on the chart, I'm treating this move to the downside as a stop count, strong recovery. I bought on a break, attempt to break, so I've been for 1 hour, I've been green in euro dollar. Anyway, we have some kind of the pullback, and the bottom of the channel we discussed yesterday might be the challenge here as well. Anyway, we discussed this type of the price action, what I'm going to do if it happened, I did it, but I'm ready to add around the daily open, right? My stop is below the Tokyo low, 1 or 2 pips, just in case. I'm ready to add on a pullback towards 70. I'm targeting Monday low for now, right? So that's about euro dollar. We have this positive risk on sentiment based on the news from the China. Here is good evening. Okay, good evening. I lost myself for a second. Okay, risk is on based on the information from the China that US and China agreed that the tariffs are gonna be rolled back during the act of the sign of this phase 1, and over the period of some course of the time they are going to roll back the tariffs. But of course, when you are doing the deal, that's something what should happen. So, well, you know, on the indices, the algo are playing only right now. Sorry, bit of the coffee. We are going to focus on pound, and we are going to focus especially on pound USD and EURGBP. So let's make it that way. And let's make it that way. and let's have a look if we can get something out of that. Well, from the cable perspective, so let's discuss cable first. From the cable perspective, the problem is to what we've seen in the mid-May with the breakdown here, right? So we've seen the first test, the second it was the lower high, so there is a possibility we are going to see some kind of the either some kind of the consolidation with this type of the triangle, or we are going to have some kind of the flag based on this, right? So either we are going to start rising from here, or we might see a little bit deeper pullback. And the second thing with this deeper pullback, that's something I'm looking for. Now, why? Because if you remember, we were discussing this consolidation, right? So with this type of the flag, eventually the pullback that could be test of either top of that old consolidation, broken consolidation, right? Or we might see some kind with the stop hunt like 50% of that consolidation, all right? So either one of those levels, and we are talking about levels close to 27.40, 27.30 or 26.40, 26.30, okay? So that could be the case. Of course, we cannot rule it out. The market will go as low as here, towards 23.10, where the latest weakness been seen here, but these levels have been tested already here ahead of this huge spike. So, well, from the bulls perspective, some kind of the flag and continuation to the upside, especially with attempt to close above 130, right? That's the key level. That's what we've seen. This breakdown started here, so I'm not surprised that there is some kind of the supply. Of course, going higher, closing above 130, it will open 134, 135, but I would like to see like 2 days consolidation above that levels, right? Well, could that Bank of England rate decision spur such a rally? I have no idea. I would rather say that some kind of the expectation in relation to the election in UK, right? Some the polls and the expectations that what might influence pound in relation also to the election in relation to the Brexit, of course. So that what might push the pound higher or lower. I'm not so sure if rate decision alone, if it's I don't know if it could push pound higher or lower, but anyway, hopefully we are going to be able to grab a few pips out of that market. But as far as I remember, the previous one was poor. And MHBI, yeah, that's what I think as well. That's why exactly you're right, and that's what I'm talking about. That it might end up, big cloud and very low rain, right? So well, but it's good to be here. It's good to monitor. It's good to have a short discussion. But of course, you know me, I'm not gonna chase the price if there is nothing going on. So let's switch lower. Of course, 130. It's where the wall of supply is, and that's the only task for the sellers to defend 130, and that's it, right? From the short-term perspective, here on cable, we are moving inside some kind of the channel, downside channel this time. Well, more or less something like this, right? And we are in the middle of the nowhere. So I'm not gonna be surprised if the market will try to look for some stops, so we'll try to move through few levels we have here, right, like 2805, and that might open from intraday perspective eventually 2740, and 2740, that's the levels where the top of that consolidation from the daily starts. So that's what cannot be ruled out, some aggressive move to the downside on the cable, right? On the other hand, so it's like 50-50 in my opinion on cable. But on the other hand, on EUROPOUND, and that's what we discussed yesterday, I'm still looking to buy based on this demand zone, and the scenario we were discussing yesterday didn't materialize yet. So I'm still looking for the stop count below 85.75 and positive daily close, and that eventually will spur the break of that falling trend line and rally at least towards 87.40 ish. Okay, so that's how I see the pound. Well, fingers crossed. 3 minutes left, so let's have a look at what we are going to get. Nothing extraordinary. Is going on during the New York session, right? So only focus on Bank of England here, and then 1:30, and there is a Bank of England Governor Carney speaks, and yeah, then late in the mid of the New York session we have 30-year bond auction in US. So let's switch on this euro pound. Let's switch to the lower time frame as well. It looks so nice. That's, yeah, I would love to see some downside and finally break. Okay, USA. We have 1 minute. Of course, the market expectations are unchanged. The question about the votes. Twenty seconds to go. First reaction to the downside. Big reaction to the downside, I would say. So this time we do have fireworks. This time we do have a fireworks. So aggressive move to the downside on the cable is a test of the bottom of the falling channel from the intraday chart perspective. On the euro pound, we are testing intraday supply. The MPC voted by majority of 7.722 to keep rate at 0.75. That's by information by Bank of England. Congratulations, MHB. That's when there is a no liquidity and you placing orders ahead of the main events that may happen. The first the fill is at the first available price. That's how it works. It was well, before 2008 this type of the strategy used to work much better. The vote is 7-2, right? 7 to keep and 2 to cut. That was those two in favor of cut. Saunders and Haskell unexpectedly vote to cut the rate by 25 basis points. That's what spurred the move to the downside on the cable. Alright, so let's have a look if we can get back towards 28.50 from here. That's where I would like to eventually try to fight with the, that would be the retest of the pre-Bank of England rate decision levels. So that's, yeah, that's what I can try to trade with the pound. Still think in that case this 27.40 could be the case we discussed. Okay, they trying. This is the nice supply here working on the euro pound. We are retesting the broken bottom of the channel from the hourly chart, as you can see. So on the 1 minute, it's a retest of the bottom of that channel. Here already the supply resides, 38. So towards the 50, towards my level, it's still some way to go, right? I'm going to have a little bit wider stop. I'm going to have a stop above this today's high. Basically above the because this green dotted line is a Monday low broken. So I'm going to have the stop above. Okay, so it's gonna to be like something around 25 pips, but I'm targeting 100 110, so it's still risk reward is going to be in my favor. So a little bit wider than what we usually do, like 4, 6, 8 pips. Today it's going to be like 25. Well, we'll see. I'm gonna to cancel that order probably ahead of the Carney speech. So if I'm not gonna be filled within the next 15 minutes, I'm gonna step back and wait for Carney. Well, basically, I've been doing very similar stuff before 2008, and right after 2008, I've been doing as well. But then, when I had a series of losses based on that strategy, right, I evaluate that one. And because what we have from post financial crisis, what we have right now, it's like killing the volatility on the market. So all these breakouts, breakdown strategies, well, at least in my case, it was like upside down. They turn like to the downside, meaning that they stopped working for me, for myself, right? So I do prefer wait for some kind of the, in case of the breakdown, for rally back towards some levels, and very similar situation in case of the breakout. So yeah, that's, to be honest with you, when I really learned myself to be patient. He's a nice man. Yeah, he is trying to say nothing by saying a lot. Yeah, I do have around 50, so around this pre-Bank of England levels. But looks like this bottom of the channel here is for now working as a the line here, that's the bottom of this channel from the early chart. But anyway, if we are going to try to get back, so if we are going to make some kind of the measure, right, and we are going to get back, so that should be fine. That should be fine. Of course, right now the huge risk is of the some kind of the spike. And because of the drop in the pound, the euro revisited 75. I've been talking about trying to fill 70 on the pullback to 70, right? On the yellow, so we didn't quite hit the yellow yet on euro dollar. But I might, in case of the break of this yellow. In case of the break of this yellow zone on the euro pound, I might decide not to add into the euro dollar long, but I may decide to go long euro pound. We'll see. But yeah, here is a little bit wider because we are talking about the 15 pips. But we have similar situation to what we've seen lately, right? On the 1 minute chart, one candle spike to the upside, to the downside, and then 6-10 pips consolidation. That's, if you remember what we had post payrolls on euro dollar, when I've been trading the euro dollar short with 6 pips stop. I took 6 pips, no, 4 pips, I don't remember yet, but the stop was very tight post payrolls. So yeah, looks like, yeah, that could be the case as well, MHB, with this order expiration. Hi, Clement, how you doing? I do have sell. But just that's my opinion, guys. You should do your own research. We are not doing the signal service here. We are trying to learn something. All of us, me as well. And Clement, it's not triggered. It hasn't been triggered yet. So it's waiting order. So, you know. We'll see. We'll see. So one more time, there are two reasons from the intraday perspective, based on what we discussed from the higher time frame. So the level is the pre-Bank of England level, as well as in case we agree that what we have right now for quite a few minutes, some kind of consolidation. So in case of an attempt to break higher from that consolidation, we might double that move. So that would be the trigger as well, right? Equal size when we are talking about the equal move. So on the cable, we do have the breakdown through this. Oops, something has moved. All right. Anyway, well, that's what we have. So it's attempt to break through the bottom of the channel, right? And it might be the flag we discussed on the daily, right? So going back, it's gonna be very, very interesting and very important where we are going to be at the top of the hour, right? Because if the buyers will manage to create the lower shadow and close inside the channel, especially above those lower shadows we've seen during the Tokyo session, that might be short-term change, and we might try to go even retest the top of the channel, right? So whether we are going to be together at that top of the hour, or we just finish right after the Carney starts, be careful with this bottom of the channel, right? But if we are going to revisit 50 from the very short-term perspective, but we are managed to close below that Tokyo low, right? Then the 2750, 2740, as discussed based on the daily chart, that could be the target, at least the first target. So a few things to worth to watch and worth to remember, right? And again, if I'm not gonna be filled within the next 4 minutes, I'm gonna to step back and I'm gonna be in a watch and see mode during the Carney. Looks like the bottom of this broken channel for now looks as the first line of supply. So if we going that way, that's the consolidation. So we spent few minutes above 50% of that consolidation. So I'm going to watch their behavior under, right? So while we are below 50% of that consolidation. And that's the attempt to break down. All right, so looks like I'm not gonna be filled here. So I removed, well, so now, because of this breakdown, we'll see if it's a real or a fake one. I'm going to watch this 50% of that consolidation. So for sure we took out the lows post the Bank of England. Now it's a question, yeah, the close is also right now below, we'll see. Now, as we are waiting for a Carney, my colleague sent me a few more details in relation to the China-US deal based on this information from the Chinese media. There's one small detail which is worth to watch, because looks like algo only reacted and pushed the risk onto the upside, for example US futures, right? But there is a small detail in this news that the Chinese side wants first the tariffs to be rolled back. And if Trump is going to agree on that, the takeaway of that situation might be that Trump gave up, right? I'm not sure if he's this type of the guy. So afternoon session, based on this information, based on those details, that might be very, very interesting. Yes, that's probably MHB. That's probably the reason we are seeing the weaker pound, because those two votes against on hold, they were favoring the cut. So that's one of the reasons, because it's a little bit of the change in view. And I wonder right now, maybe it's a not good moment, but when the dust will settle, it might be worth, for example, tomorrow to check how the market switch after this Bank of England rate decision, how market switch to what's gonna be expectations towards the next move, right? Because it looks like we might switch to the cut some time in 2020, for example, right? Instead of the rising the rates. So that's the case here, probably. Looks like it's even weaker than what I thought. We haven't retested this half of this consolidation yet. Of course, it's a still long way, because it's like 38 minutes towards hourly close. But euro pound is testing this supply we've seen for quite a few days lately, and unfortunately on the euro pound, yeah, they didn't do what we were discussing yesterday, right? So just a reminder that when we were doing this channel here, we discussed yesterday based on the daily chart that it would be good to try to hit some stops below 77, even towards maybe 85.50 or so. Okay, it didn't happen. So there was for me, it was the problem to try to step in right ahead, only maybe on this unbroken trend line. Maybe that was the solution. Anyway, if we are going to look at the euro pound that way, right? So ahead of the rate decision, there was something. We cannot call it head and shoulders, but it was something what might for some of us looks like head and shoulders. So in case of the break to the upside, there's going to be the chance that we are going to higher towards 87. Okay, so let's have a look if we can break through that supply, right? Retest at some point and continue higher. Some stops were taken out, that's for sure. So we have 5 minutes towards the Carney. So at this moment we have 25 minutes post Bank of England rate decision, right? I haven't been filled on this based on the news, preparation to make the trade based on the news. So right now let's have a look what we have from the, let's get back and to the higher time frame, and let's have a look what we have from the higher time frame perspective. Let's get back to intraday hourly. So it looks like it might be all about the Tokyo low, and then all about the pre-Bank of England low, right? Bottom of that broken channel. So we might speed up a bit. The way we are hesitating here, the way the sellers have some kind of the hesitation, is the equal move we did already, all right? So I'm going to reevaluate what I want to do with the cable, and depends where we are going to close at the top of the hour. Okay, so right now I'm not gonna be surprised if at some point, in case of that moves, if we are at some point, we'll not try to make this kind of the recovery, so even a little bit higher than 50 towards the daily open is like 55, that even 60, that could be the case, all right? Check how the algo are moving this market, right? It's to the pip. So yeah, the machines are doing the pound trades. So it might be that we are going to retest these levels, for example, I don't know, tomorrow. And we are going to make this bigger flag we discussed from the daily chart, right? Like this. So that's why 2740, 2730 as the first target, and then the second 2640, 2630 eventually. Okay? So that was the update for those who join us a bit later. So let's have a look if the Carney can move the market by himself. Of course, once the US session kicks off, it's gonna be worth to watch the US yields, guys, right? We have quite strong. Lately, we had a quite strong move. There is on tens, there is a still space to rise at least towards 2%. So that may add fuel for cable to the downside eventually, right? So hopefully at some point around the US cash open, we are going to see some kind of the rally back on the cable, and that might be eventually the case to try to join the party. It looks like we are breaking the equal moves rule right now here on the cable based on what we discussed here on the hourly. So looks like this stops at 28 are gonna be taken into the consideration. but it's not changing eventually my approach. So we have this broken Tokyo low. So if that was the consolidation during the Tokyo session ahead of the move higher towards Monday low, green dotted line, right? So if you are going to expound, okay, I want to see the retest of that zone. So it's still around 40.50. Yeah, we'll see. So on cable we made right after the Carney starts, we made lower low and higher high on euro pound, and we are giving up. So there is some profit taking going on ahead of the New York Open. So why it's quite important, because if we are going to get the pro traders approach, meaning when I'm talking about the pro traders, I'm talking about those insti guys, right? The guy in New York, for him the trading day is like starting within the next 30 minutes towards the end of the US cash session. That's gonna be his daily candle, right? So in that case, when we are talking about the pound here post Bank of England rate decision, so the pound for the US guys will start with the gap down, right? The question is what kind of how they are going to treat that gap, right? If they are going to try to close that gap, or if it's gonna be some kind of the runaway gap. Okay, we'll see. So that's what I'm taking into the consideration as well, right? Around this US and US cash open. The same as around the London Open, right? That's where those opportunities may arise. So let's have a look. Let's check what Carney is saying. And looks like, yeah, there is a first tweet from the President Trump Twitter account. So looks like Trump woke up already. So it's worth to watch his Twitter account right now in relation to this China news. All right, from Carney, global growth risks slipping into a low growth and low inflation. Recent Brexit deal creates a possibility of a pickup in the UK economic piece of recovery. Depends on how much Brexit uncertainty is going to be removed. Don't forget, guys, that later today in the mid-US or New York session, if you wish, there is a 30-year bond auction. So it may influence what's going to happen with the dollar towards the end of the session. So the cable is testing 28, and as discussed, there are some stops below for sure, based on what we've seen lately here, right? The late October, last week of the October. So for sure, some profit taking could be in place, or it might be stop hand and quick reverse, right? So we are working to the pip with this line we placed here some time ago. Tomorrow there is a Canadian non-farm payrolls, Canadian job market. I do have some personal private stuff to do in case I'll be back on time. There might be late minute live stream schedule, so click subscribe button, guys, to be sure that you are not gonna miss in case I'm going to do the stream tomorrow in relation to the Canadian job market. So we were trying to measure the possible bounce to the upside towards the pre-Bank of England levels, right? To the downside, it's working the same way, guys, right? So we made this making measure of the consolidation post Bank of England rate decision, break down the same in size, move in size, equal moves, so hit important levels from higher time frame, trying to bounce. I wonder if it's going to work the way with that channel, mostly because within the next 20 minutes some early New York guys will join the party. There are some comments based on what Carney is saying right now. There are some quick comments doing the rounds, especially looks like they are getting closer to the position that they will no longer be able to hide the slowdown behind the Brexit curtain. So, well, really, it's gonna be very interesting to check either later today or probably better tomorrow around the London Open. What's the market prediction, or how market is pricing, what is priced as a next Bank of England move. So the channel didn't work out as what I thought. This 50% of this original consolidation hasn't been tested, so it's gonna be interested. But again, going back to what I've said before, the New York close where we were before Bank of England, right? So it could go even that high. Alright guys, if you have any questions, that's the very good moment to ask. So for now, as long as we didn't break 28, I'm looking for a Riley retest of something closer to 28.50, maybe even a little bit higher, for the possibility to try to trade short side back towards in between 27.60, 27.40. In case of the Euro Pound, well, looks like there are some problems here, right? At the top of this possible supply, we've seen for quite a few times already. So as long as we are below the yellow zone, there is a still possibility to try to get back lower. And that's gonna be very interesting, for example, from the daily chart perspective, because it looks like there is an attempt to break higher through the line we put on the chart yesterday without the stop count to the downside. All right, so that's gonna be interesting what's going to happen in the relation to the Tuesday and Monday price action, because we are breaking through the weekly open right now, trying to go higher. We are breaking through the falling trend line, unfortunately without some real stop hunt to the downside. But anyway, if you don't have what you like, you have to like what you have. So from the Euro Pound perspective, it might be worth to wait towards the end of the day, right? To check where we are going to get the daily close, if it's going to be above weekly open, or if bears will manage to get back below. That might be in case of the upper shadow creation towards the end of the day, and close below these levels, like 86.30, let's say, right? So that might provide the selling opportunity by tomorrow, at least towards Wednesday high or Wednesday close by tomorrow, right? Friday. So we will see. So yeah, Euro Pound, I may switch to wait and watch mode, and yeah. Okay, if there are no questions, so I would like to say thank you very much. That was the purely Bank of England live stream. There was a Bank of England rate decision coverage. Nothing extraordinary scheduled for the US session, so it might be worth to have President Trump Twitter account open and to watch overall sentiment during the US session. Don't forget, guys, in the mid of the New York session, we do have 30-year bond auction in US, and that might influence how the dollar will behave. Don't forget to subscribe in case I'm gonna be back tomorrow not too late, then the last minute Canadian job market live stream could take place and might be scheduled, as I mentioned, last minute. So guys, have a great rest of the day wherever you are. Don't chase the market. Thank you very much. It was, as usual, it was my pleasure to be with you here. So stay tuned and see you around, guys. Have a good day.